Good evening. Welcome to On Another Level Book Club's Author Babble, where tonight we're getting up close and personal with Dr. Solomon Tention, the author of The King in Me. Dr. Tention, welcome, and thank you for joining us on this evening.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
So let's start by you telling us a little bit about yourself.
So again, Solomon Tention, the author of the King and Me series, and so I'm currently in beautiful, hot Dallas, Texas. My full-time life is that of an administrator and a professor, but my part-time life is that of leading a company, sim companies, and have been doing that for about two years now. And so I'm a career educator. Started my career as a teacher and then worked my way up and now working in the college scene. So very much so passionate about helping other individuals be successful, both inside and outside the classroom. And the King in Me series is just kind of the start of that. And so got roots in Georgia and Louisiana. And have kind of been kind of all around to a little bit of everywhere. And so really excited to be a part of this program and excited to see how I can contribute and help others.
Impressive. Well, we're glad to have you on tonight. It's always good to see a brother um, in the classroom making impact. A lot of times we don't see a lot of our black men
Yeah,
in the classroom. So I do
I appreciate that.
commend you for that.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
So let's talk about your. Um, so it's a series.
Right, right. It's the King and Me series.
Okay. So where did this concept, the king in me, where did that come from?
Yeah, well, I think that it really started, during the pandemic. Like so many of us, spent some time. We were all of us were kind of shut in and trying to find things to do. And so, but one of the things that I committed to do was to do a lot of personal work, to work on myself, to grow, and to develop. And I think one of the things that I hadn't always done a good job was to kind of reach back within myself and to find creative ways to share my story to impact others. As a man of color, working through trauma and working through so many different challenges in my life, some way, with the grace of God, I found purpose and have been able to impact the lives of so many people. And so I thought that it was time that I kind of did some work to help other brothers along the way. There's so much work out there about helping our queens find purpose, but you don't find enough work, I think, into helping men find purpose as well, and talking about the value of that. And so that's what kind of birthed the King in Me Part One, where I opened up my life and challenges and struggles that I had, and I helped men understand the process of finding purpose and what that looks like, and what it is and what it's not, and even we dive into working through trauma and working through healthy relationships and understanding that value, because we understand that sometimes life happens to people and they're not able to progress. They're stuck. When men are stuck, sometimes we're stagnant and we can't make the best decisions. We don't progress forward in life. So I talk about all of that in part one, helping men find purpose. So it's a book plus a guide plus a journal as well. So it's kind of all three together. And then from that, kind of sparked the desire to create kind of some ebooks that focus
Hmm.
on forgiveness. We focus on affirmations of men of color and why that's important. And so helping single moms or single parents of young black men understand the importance of affirmations and what that looks like and how to implement affirmations. And we have ebooks that focus on the subconscious mind and developing generational wealth and mentorship. So King and Me Part One was kind of the first iteration, but then we had those ebooks that came out just as a supplement to that series, because we felt like there was just so much more that we need to talk about. So that's kind of a little bit about the book. I know you'll have some specific questions, but that's this focus. And lastly, the King and Me is about helping men of color identify the king that's in them, right? Because every man has a king in them, but from a psychological standpoint and from a trauma standpoint,
Hmm.
and we understand that there are layers of things that men have to work through to get to that king, and that's what the series is all about: helping men unpack their stuff, be okay with their stuff, and live a whole and fulfilled life.
Okay, okay, I see, I see. So this is something. This is really something new that
Hmm.
just evolved once the pandemic hit.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
Okay,
I
I'm
had no I
impressed.
had no plans to ever share my story at all. But you know, it just takes some time because you gotta be good with self. You gotta be okay with being vulnerable to put
Exactly.
yourself out there for the world, and you gotta have a level of humility to say that, you know, I understand that my life is not about me. It's about helping others. And while there are many ways to do that, one of the ways that I neglected and felt that I needed to do was to share my story. So it's you're right. This is new levels for me. I've always tried to impact individuals in the classroom, but this is something new.
Okay, so prior to you picking up the pen, starting with The
Hmm.
King and Me, part one,
Yeah, yeah.
did you ever have a desire to be an author?
No, no desire
Not
at
at all.
all. I had written enough in school. I was done.
Hmm.
I
I
had
feel you.
written enough in school, and I was done. And so no, I had no desire at all. But it's been fulfilling so far.
So let's talk about being open and vulnerable and sharing
Yeah.
your story. What type of response have you received from readers?
I mean, so much positive. I think one of the ones that kind of, and she actually, you know, put the review on Amazon. She talked about how, you know, she bought the book for both a young lady bought the book for both her son as well as her boyfriend, and she
Mm,
talked about how, as a result of going through the book with her son, while it's meant for ages 18 to 35. She, you know, parents are utilizing the book and they're walking through it with their sons, and so she talked about how she saw a change in her son, and she see that her son is evolving into a young man. And so we've got partnerships in the UK because of this book to do more series as well with single
okay.
moms. And so it's been a positive response. I had no idea that it would grow to where it is, but I think that's just a beautiful thing about purpose. Sometimes you just got to do, and then let everything else happen. So it's been a good response. It's still early. We launched it around November of last year. So we haven't made a full year yet. But so far, so good. And we look forward to more coming from it.
Okay. So this been your first book.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to pen from start to finish?
Yeah,
Part
that's a
one.
good. It took me about a good month and a half. Not because I didn't have the content, because it was a struggle.
Mm,
Because again, I've written academically and can write, but when you share your story, it just takes a certain. It takes something out of you, right? It's
right.
not. It's about me, and it's about my life, and so there's a lot of struggles back and forth about what you share or how you share it, and then also the educator and the researcher in me wants to ensure that it's not just this feel good story, but there's some practical pieces in there where men can apply it to their life, some practical strategies, some practical activities. We integrated psychology and educational theory in this work. So that took some time too, because again, we wanted, it's all about empowering men to do the work. And so it took me about a month of time. It was definitely difficult, definitely a struggle, but I think that so far we've got a good product.
Okay. And for our viewing audience, those that have an aspiration to be a writer, um, from your perspective, from starting to write the book to the
Yeah.
ending process of being published and the marketing process, what do you feel is the most difficult part of the artistic process?
I think number one, just, you know, it depends on the type of book that you want to write, is to
Mm,
to do the inner work to be prepared to write that story. I think that that's a challenge. I think that also a challenge that I find that many authors that I've talked to who are engaging in this journey don't know where to start, and so they get stuck. You know, I've met
right,
authors who it took them 7 years to get a book out because they didn't know where to start, and so
right.
I try to tell folks to be kind to yourself and just start, get a journal, get a notebook, and as the thoughts come, start writing or start recording. So I think those are two difficult pieces. But I think number three, I think that when you have a finished book, it can be challenging when you put it out there, when you're not fully aware of what the response will be. And I've seen authors kind of, I don't want to market it like this, I don't want to promote it too much, right? But I think you got to be okay with, I've got a finished product, I've got a book, I've got an audience, and that's the audience that I'm going to market to. And so if it's not in my audience, I'm not going to let that get to me, right? And
Right.
so, so I think those three. I can't really say the number one challenge, but I think those are 3 points that I find that I struggle with, but also other authors that I talk to as well.
Okay. So out of this process, what is the overall, the arching theme of your book when it comes to finding the king in you? What's the
Yeah.
overall arching theme?
Well, the overarching thing is we're trying to empower men to do the work, to do the
Mm-hmm.
self work, and we understand that we don't always know how to do that work. And I think this book is really a guide to help men kind of start do that work. I don't have all the answers. The book series don't have all the answers, but it's about empowering men who want do this work, to give them the tools and resources. And a new market that has emerged that I never even intended to market to is single moms. And
Mm-hmm.
so it kind of it's a whole new niche for me because I don't have children, but in talking to some of the single moms, the resources was useful for them as they try to bridge the gap. And so I think that that's been another overarching theme of the book as well, is to help single moms who are raising young men of color, to provide them with tools and resources and support that they can walk through with their sons with as well.
That's a good point. I can see that being, especially with
Yeah,
everything that we've dealt with
yeah,
over the last year or so,
yeah,
just finding resources if you are
right,
a single mom trying to raise an African American male or a male in general.
right,
A
right.
male in general. So, um, you say this book is about you and your things you've been through in life. Is this
Yeah,
considered an autobiography, or are you telling it from a self-help perspective?
yeah. That's a good question. I think I'm telling you from a self help perspective. I think that's kind of the approach that I've tried to kind of take. Maybe one day I may do just a whole autobiography from my life, start to finish, and try to inspire people. But I think we tried to approach it from a self help perspective, pulling out parts of my life that's applicable to the main
Mhm.
chapters, to give it to make it make sense, from a very real place.
So one thing we want to do, we always want to draw our audience, our listening, our viewing
Yeah,
audience in, because we want
yeah,
them to support you and buy your
yeah,
book. Okay.
yeah,
So
yeah,
if you're comfortable, share an
yeah.
experience with us that you've been through in life and the impact that it has made in your life.
Wow, that yeah, man, there's so many experiences.
And
That's a that's a
you can even leave us with a cliffhanger. But again, this is a marketing tactic to get folks to, hey, I need to pick that book up.
oh man, there's so many to pull from.
Hmm.
Sharing experience with my life, and how I think overall, I'll say, just the experience of not growing up with a traditional background certainly
Okay.
impacted me. I didn't grow up with a mother present in my life, or a father. Only
Hmm.
for a short period of time he was there, but it was a really interesting situation when you grow up, and when you become a man and you start to do the work. And you find that you have both mother and father wounds, right? That's
Right.
something interesting. And so that certainly impacted me. I love and honor and respect my parents, and grateful for what they did give me, what they birthed in me, by them coming together. And so, but I think it impacted me in so many ways because, as you go out through life, you just never really kind of stop and see how those things impact you. But I think that overall, as a result of doing the work, you find the gift in those things. You find the blessings in that. For me, I found a blessing in that situation, and I ultimately found purpose. And so I think that's maybe not situation, but maybe circumstance that
Hmm.
certainly impacted me in growing up. As a young man, had challenges with anger, or challenges when my identity was challenged, or challenging insecurities and things of that nature. Coupled with those wounds was certainly difficult, but so grateful that God saw fit to bring me through that to be where I am today.
Okay. Now I've always been told I'm nosy. And now I just want to know. I mean, if you don't feel comfortable sharing, it may be in the book. What was the circumstance of your mom and father not being in your life? Now, again, if you don't feel comfortable, we don't have to talk about this.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, my mother wasn't there not by choice. She had some health challenges, and
Okay.
so she couldn't be fully present. And
Hmm.
and I think my father, yeah, I think he was just going through just some situations of his own as well. And I think he did the best that he could. And I think his heart was in the right place, which is why I have respect for him. But I think that's kind of high level why they
Okay.
weren't there.
Okay. So, on that note, one of the things, especially when you're writing from a personal perspective,
Mhm.
what type of response um, and support have you received from family members, positive or negative? Just putting things out there that they may not have felt
Mhm.
comfortable sharing with the world.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, I didn't write too much about,
Okay.
family. I try to keep it
Okay.
about me, right? And
Hmm.
so, but my family has been very supportive of the book. They haven't told me their thoughts of it, but they've been supportive and sharing it and telling people about it. And you know, so I tried to make sure that you're right. That's always a challenge, but it was about me and my journey and my experience in a way that I want to help other men. So it's been positive so far, and I think it'll continue. But I certainly understand that challenge for others who may be telling more of a narrative story with names and things of that nature. That
Hmm.
could certainly be a challenge, but not having experienced that so far.
Okay. Now, um, as an author,
Mhm.
and you say you do not have children at this point,
I
correct?
don't. No.
So your books are for young men, or
Hmm.
it's geared towards young men 18 and above.
Hmm.
Do you have any
Hmm.
plans for doing anything for younger young men that's younger
You
than
know,
18?
I've been thinking about that. That wasn't my initial plan, but with these types of deals, you just kind of roll with roll with as it goes. But I think that certainly that might be something that I might consider doing a children's book or a children's series. So I certainly thought about it,
Mm-hmm.
but no plans just yet. So the closest we got was again writing the ebook for parents of young men, uh, affirmations for my son.
Mm-hmm.
Because interesting thing we found out, interesting that I've always known, and just being an educator, and my background is education and psychology in terms of my academic background. Is I've always ran to parents who had a desire to affirm their children, right?
Right.
But they grapple with the fact that they lack affirmation themselves.
Exactly. Exactly.
And that's a very real
Mm-hmm.
thing. And so that's what kind of birthed that book. And I think that's kind of when I began to see single parents say, oh my God, I've been looking for this. And
Right.
it's a hard thing to admit that you have to love from a place that you never received. And so
Yes.
that is what birthed that. So I think that most certainly some type of children or kids series might come from that as well, spinning off the whole affirmation piece. That's kind of why I brought that up.
Right, right. Because you definitely have to deal with you before you deal with
Correct.
anybody else or pour into
Correct.
anybody else. And
Correct.
let's talk about the generational curses that we
Yeah.
all know and have
Yeah.
experienced.
Yeah.
What struggle um, do you see from people that have read your book, from the reviews, or even within your own
Mhm.
family structure?
Mhm.
What's the struggle in trying to just
Mhm.
break those curses and make a
Mhm.
change?
I think that's a loaded question. It's kind of I think for me, my goal with the book was to help men break generational curses associated with
Mm-hmm.
insecurities as a result of trauma, insecurities as a result of the projection of others, because all that works together, right, kills a man's identity. And so that's what the king in me is all about, helping you unpack all of that, helping you go through the sense making. In psychology, referred to that as the sense making process, or how do you make sense of the things that you went through. Sometimes we go through things and we don't heal properly, we don't grow properly, not because we don't have the desire, not because we may not have thought about it, or we but because we didn't process it correctly.
Right.
And so that makes a big difference. So I help men. I give them tools and skills to kind of go back to their childhood, wherever they want to start, and unpack things. But I try to present it in a way and walk it through to where they can now make sense of it properly. And when they begin to do that, then you can look at some of the labels that you might have taken on, the insecurities that you've taken on, or what you've allowed people to project on you that had nothing to do with your identity. And because your identity was confused, you lack purpose, and hence the king in me. So I think that is kind of the major generational curse that I've had to deal with, that I'm hoping that the book helps address as well, because we know how important it is for men, for us, and we love our queens, and our queens certainly have make a major impact. But for me and my brand, I'm all about
Hmm.
supporting men so we can grow and step up into the space that we're called to be in, and to lead our families, lead our children, lead our community. Sometimes we can't do that because we haven't tapped into the king that's in us. So that's kind of my major focus with breaking those generational curses.
Okay, so Dr. Tension, now I'm about to I'm about to go somewhere, okay?
You going somewhere, all right?
That all sounds good,
Uh
okay?
huh.
But the struggle, the battle
Hmm.
between the expectation of
Hmm.
society
Yeah.
and what our music, TV, all of that portrays,
Yeah.
as an African American man or African American period in society. How do you battle against um, trying to do you,
Hmm.
but yet trying to fit in a society that expects, you know,
Hmm.
something totally different? What
I
advice
deal with
could you
that.
give to black men out there?
I deal with that every day as a
Yes.
young black male who um, is highly educated, and who is an associate dean, and who has spent a career working in white spaces.
Mm-hmm.
So that's difficult to be able to navigate that, right? Because sometimes you don't fit people's expectations. And I think I'm using my life. I think it doesn't matter what level you are.
Exactly.
I think that as men, we always grapple with who we are versus of how people see us, or versus society's cultures, and whatever you want to dive it. So for me, one of the things I've done is, number one, I try to continuously do the work. I struggle with rejection issues, or people's opinions issues, just like everybody else, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have to do work every day to be confident, to be able to go out in this world, to know that, yeah, maybe Solomon in a suit wouldn't get profiled, but if when I come home in my street clothes, doctor don't matter. Right? It don't matter, right? And so you have to kind of live in that reality and try to function in between the two. But like you say, be true to who you are. Find spaces to where you can be comfortable in, and be your authentic self, whatever that's called to be in, because you don't want to neglect the real you, because you're trying to manage all of these other expectations. So you gotta try to funnel what's true to you, what identifies with you, and that is what you live through. So that would be the advice that I would give any brother out there that's struggling with that, because we can't change how people view us. We can only change how we try to live and exist in the world. And so that's kind of the
Okay.
piece of advice that I would give.
Okay. Awesome. 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 At this point, I'm going to ask you to share with our viewing audience how you can be contacted and also where can they purchase your books.
Yeah. So you can contact me on Instagram. My Instagram is at Dr. Solomon Tention. Or you can follow our company at underscore Sim Companies. And so I would love to engage with you. You can learn more about me, learn more about our brand and what we're trying to do. We've got so many initiatives coming down the pike this summer, where we are focusing on black men, future educators and future scholars, and just so many things that we have coming this summer and throughout the fall. And so you're welcome to
Okay.
join us there. And then also the book can be purchased pretty much everywhere. We're published everywhere: Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Target. But also, if you like or follow me on Instagram, you can be directed to the book via the link in my bio.
Okay. Okay. So, real quick, I'm going to move over real quick to a quick game. It's called This or
Okay.
That. So, I'm going to
Okay.
give you two items, and on the top of your head, give me the first thing that popped into your head. Okay. You
Okay.
ready?
Okay. Okay.
All right. Um, Love or money?
Oh. Man, money.
Okay. The Rock or Kevin Hart?
Kevin Hart.
Netflix or Hulu?
Ah, Netflix.
Wine or rum?
Rum.
And lastly, Monopoly or checkers?
Monopoly.
Oh, that game takes too long. Okay. Competitive, competitive.
Right.
Well, we want to thank you for joining us on this evening. It has been a pleasure speaking with you. I look forward to hearing and seeing much more from you. I see maybe some public speaking
You think
deriving from
so?
this.
You
Yes,
speaking something in my
workshops.
life? You
I'm
speaking
speaking it
something in
into
my life?
existence. Some workshops for our young brothers
Yes, yes,
that's much needed.
yes, absolutely.
Before we leave, share one more time how can you be contacted and also where your books can be purchased.
Yeah, so thanks again for this platform. I enjoy speaking with you all and your amazing audience. You guys can
Thank
follow
you.
me on IG at Dr. Solomon Tention. You can purchase the books via Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Target, wherever you purchase books. Or if you follow me on IG, you can go directly to order the book via the link in my bio.
Thank you for joining us this evening,
Yes,
Dr. Tension. It has definitely been a pleasure.
thank you guys again.
All righty, join us next week, same place and same time, where we will be chatting it up with author Shaniqua Williams, author of Breaking Your Barriers. This is On Another Level Book Club from Dallas, Texas. Stay safe and have a great night. And remember, reading gives us someplace to go when we have to stay where we are. Stay safe and stay blessed.